here's my first question for you. Imagine you've got nothing to worry about from the rest of the world. You're Israel, and you don't have to worry about the UN or the Biden administration. What would you do to solve the problem of Hezbollah, Hamas, all these proxies Iran has, and maybe Iran itself, so you could finally have peace?
Paul, first of all, great to be with you in Jerusalem. Second of all, you make a great point. If Israel wasn't fighting with one arm tied behind its back, what I would do in Israel's shoes, number one, the clear answer is to crush Hamas decisively. I mean, so that Hamas, there's no question, is never alive to attack Israel ever again. That's number one. Settle things in Gaza once and for all. Number two, Hezbollah, Paul, which I believe is the greater threat in this. Not only push Hezbollah back a few miles from the border, but decisively crush Hezbollah. Again, this is no inhibitions, and Israel's not handcuffed by the world, the so-called international community. I think you need to wipe Hamas and Hezbollah off the map. And,
look, 150,000 missions that Hezbollah has, many of them precision guided. They could come here and wipe Jerusalem right off the face of the earth.
And the caveat there is, look, Israel is the most humane fighting force in the world. I believe the Israelis go to extraordinary lengths to avoid any civilian casualties. So this wouldn't be scorched earth complete. Israel would do it with tact and surgically, but the end game, Paul, would need to be the complete elimination of these Iran-backed terror organizations and also consequences for the Iranian regime, Paul, because look, that's the head of the snake in Tehran, and kind of the tentacles of the regime stretch throughout the region. At the end of the day, there needs to be consequences in Iran. If I'm Israel, with, again, no, this is a hypothetical scenario. If Israel had no limitations, obviously you'd start by eliminating Iran's nuclear weapons program, and you would pray that the Iranian people can overthrow that wicked regime once and for all.
Okay, now second question, Saudi Arabia. Right now they're kicking up about having joining the Abraham Accords. They say there must be a Palestinian state. So we're down on that maybe, but the idea of Israel and Saudi Arabia, a rapprochement, peace between these two gigantic entities of the Middle East, how big would that deal be? How much, does the world need to see that happen, those two countries coming together and having peace?
Paul, I interviewed Prime Minister Netanyahu about this a few months ago. He called it a quantum leap. I mean, this would be a game changer. It would be a world changer, a massive historical event for Israel, the world's one and only Jewish state, to make peace with the nation that was the birthplace of Islam, home to Mecca and Medina, Saudi Arabia. This would be literally earth-shaking. And I think it can happen, Paul. I do. I mean, on hold right now, obviously. And remember, in the run-up to the October 7th massacre, there was so much talk that Israel and Saudi Arabia were very close. And I believe one of the reasons Iran gave the green light for October 7th was to put a stop to that Israel-Saudi potential normalization. But now we're a few months in, and the Saudis are saying, look, this is still on the table. Now, the caveat there, Paul, is the world is pushing for a Palestinian state. The Biden administration is saying to Israel, look, you can have normalization with Saudi Arabia, but you have to recognize a Palestinian state. Israel's not going to go down that road, but I believe even without that, the Saudis are willing to come to the table. Two reasons, Paul, in particular. Number one, Iran. That Iran threat, it's not only a threat to Israel, it's a threat to all of those Sunni Arab nations as well. And number two, look, Israel is the strong horse in the region, Paul, not only militarily, but economically. I mean, Israel is a scientific, technological powerhouse. There's a lot of reasons for the Saudis to make peace with Israel, but my prayer for Israel is, if they do it, that the price isn't too high. Does Israel have to make a bunch of very dangerous concessions? Right now, there's no consensus for that among the people of Israel, surely. But I think this talk of a Saudi deal is going to kick back into overdrive once again. I think in a broader sense, Paul, it has prophetic implications.
Amen. Yeah, and it could mean not just peace for this region, but maybe peace for much of the world if you could finally just have this conflict over once and for all. Erick, thanks so much for joining us.
Paul, my pleasure. God bless, brother.
God bless
you. Thank you.